Hello everyone and welcome to my corner of the world. Today's card is sharing a technique using stencils and heat embossing, and it allows me to introduce you to one of the new products from the January to June 2022 mini catalogue, which is the butterfly flowers layering decorative masks. So inside the pack you get 6 of these masks. 3 of them are sort of whole page decorative ones, and then there's one with butterflies, which I'm sure I'll be using at some point, and then these last 2 allow us to build up the flower that you can see here. And so basically these 2 will go on top of one another, and then these have been designed so that they will fit over, and you'll be able to add either little sort of branches of leaves or individual leaves around the outside. So you'll notice that they are sort of shiny on one side and matte on the other. I personally haven't discovered any difference in using which side to use. That's just what I found, but others may have picked up on something I haven't. But what I will tell you is that when you use them, make sure that you either have both of them shiny side up or matte side up, and then you'll find that they will actually line up a lot easier than if you're trying to use them the other way round. So we're going to use this one to start with, and I have a piece of card, Whisper White card, that is 4.5 by 3, and we're going to lay this down, and I'm going to make sure I've got the side that I want to use. Let me see. Yep. So we're going to lay this one down and just try and get it as much in the middle. And you will notice that I've cut my piece of cardstock that's exactly the width of the stencil, and I'm just going to center that up, and then you'll need some sticky notes just to hold everything in place. And I'm going to put a sticky note down here because I've got a little bit of my cardstock showing on through that piece of the stencil, and down here as well, and I want to make sure that I don't get carried away with my ink when I get to that stage. And I'm also going to put a piece up here and here, and so all my white card is masked off so I can't have any little accidents. I'm going to bring out a piece of kitchen paper towel, and I'm using cherry cobbler ink, and I'm using my blending brush. Now when I open up my ink pads, I don't push them all the way in. I always leave a little bit sticking out here, and that gives me a handle that I can put my fingers around to be able to pull it out to close it. It's just a little thingy that how I prefer to work anyway. So I'm going to just move this across a bit so I can make sure everything is, you can see everything. So I'm just going to pick up some ink on my blender brush, and I'm just going to take off a little bit of the excess just by banging it and just gently wiping it, and that's so we don't get a blob of ink where we don't want it. And start off and bring into the center. I like to use a circular motion, and I like to keep my finger on the top because then it means I can put some pressure, because the handle here is a weeny bit on the thin side, and I don't want it to snap. So just going in a circular motion, and I'm going sort of clockwise and anti-clockwise, making sure that I get ink into all my little spaces here. There we go. Lovely. And just a little bit up there, I think, just to make sure that it's... So it is a little bit heavier in the middle than on the outside, but then if you look at flowers, they are naturally darker toward the middle. So then I'm going to just close this up so I don't get ink over everything other than me, including me rather. And we're going to take off our mask and do the big reveal. Ta-da! Isn't that pretty? Now you could leave it like that. That would make a very pretty card, but we're gonna move on and look at and do the next step. So this is our second part of the stencil, and we're just gonna line it up so that it covers the white bits. Now you may find you need to sort of move it up and down, or you may need to rotate it slightly just to cover up your white bits. I think that's it. Without putting my head in the camera, I can't really tell, but we'll see when we get to that point. So we're going to make sure that we cover the bits that we don't want to get ink on, like that. Now at this point you could use a slightly darker ink, but I'm going to do something slightly different. I am going to use some gold embossing powder, and so in order for that to stick, I'm going to use some Versamark. This is the clear ink, but it's kind of super sticky, and I've got a sponge dauber, and I'm just going to daub the ink, the Versamark, just around the bit, the stencil here. Just work my way systematically, because the thing is you can't see if you've put it there or not, so it's just a case of working systematically. I'm going sort of round the outside and then into the middle, like that. And then remove all the bits. Now we can't see a lot at this point until we add the powder. So this is gold embossing powder, and I'm just going to sprinkle it on. Okay, not a bad job. You can see I've got a little bit that's kind of sticking around the edges, so I'm gonna just use a soft brush to take that off. There we go. I think I'm in a good place there. Now, when you come to clean your stencil, I found that if you run it, and if it's just ink, you can just run it under the tap and it'll come off. But now with Versamark, you can probably see it's a little bit on the sticky side. So I find that the water isn't enough. I kind of used a little bit of hand soap to get it off, and then I came in with my stamping mist and a piece of toweling, old towel, and then it did come off quite nicely. So now we're just going to pop this under the heat gun. It'll take a few moments. It's a bit noisy, I'm afraid. Now what we're looking for is for the embossing powder to go from that pretty dismal browny grey sort of colour, and for it to start to turn gold. And it's getting a bit warm, so I'm going to pop it down and hold it firmly with this spoon. And you can actually see that the embossing powder is melting into the clear ink that we put down. There we go, and I think that's well and truly cooked. You can tell by putting it in the light, and as long as everything is shiny, you know you've melted everything. If a bit looks a bit on the bit of dark blacky side, then you know it. You need to just put a little bit more heat on it. Isn't that pretty? Oh, I really do like that. I think that's lovely. Ooh, really happy with that. So just to finish the card off with then, oh, I nearly forgot the other bit, and that is to put my leaves on. Ooh, can't forget that. So, excuse me. So just to remind you that on this I did use the shiny side of this one, so I need to make sure I'm going to use the shiny side of this. And you can choose either to use the leaves that are like little sprigs, or there's like individual leaves. So this one I use the little sprigs, so maybe this one I'll use the little leaves. And what we're going to do is, have I got this upside down? No, I don't have this upside down. Oh, let's get it lined up. I had it all working beautifully earlier. Now then, I think that's, no, that's not it. No, for some reason that is not. Oh, that's better. I'm not quite sure what I was doing. No, that doesn't belong there. Okay, forget what I was saying. Let's just go and do these leaves, and I'll work out how to use the other leaves. Okay, so you can see that I'm lining up these leaves with the outer edges. I hope you can see that. I'll get it stuck down and then lift it up. But the outer edges of my piece below, my flower below, I'm lining those up. And we're going to go with the sticky notes again. Have to be careful not to use their trade name because they're clearly not. Although these might be. Yep, those are, but I don't know if these are. So we just go ahead and call them sticky notes and not use the trade name. Okay, I have got another sponge dauber, and this time I'm using Pear Pizzazz. And I am just going to just gently add in some ink on each of my little flower leafy bits. Now I'm dabbing because I don't want to lift up any of these small pieces. If I use a circular motion, I might just do that, and I don't want to lift them up, so I'm just dabbing. Okay, I think we're good on that. Let's do a big reveal. There we go. So as you can see, I was able to line them up just so that they curved around the edge of the flower. So we're just gonna finish this one off. I decided to use Pear Pizzazz, and so I'm going to layer this on. You can see I've reused a piece of cardstock that I wasn't happy with something else that I did. That's why every piece of card has got two sides. You can always use the other side. So my piece of Pear Pizzazz is 3 1/4 by 4 3/4. And I have taken another piece of card which is 4 by 5 1/4, and I ran it through the cut and emboss machine with the ornate floral embossing folder. So that gave me pretty little flowers which go well with my flower on the front. Got some ink there, adhesive. And I'm going to attach my decorative piece here with Stampin' Dimensionals. So we just go ahead, and I've used up all the dimensionals, main dimensionals. So I'm going to use the edges. They work just as well. Although I've managed to put that in the wrong place. Let's just take that off and try again, Cindy. There we go. And one on each corner and one in the middle. We're good to go. That one's already got the backing off. And I'm going to put it this way up and center. Now, because I haven't used a stamp set, I don't have a greeting to use from that. So I have pulled out Eden's Garden, and I'm going to use this one, Sending Hugs. So I have pre-stamped it on a piece of basic white cardstock, and then I have used my current absolute favourite label die set, Stitch So Sweetly. I love it because it's got these nice scalloped rectangles as well as these more sort of organic shaped ones down the bottom here, which I love. And I actually used this one in here, and I'm just going to use my dauber, which I put down and I now cannot see. Oh, there it is. And I'm just going to go ahead and put a little bit of ink around the edge. So this is the Pear Pizzazz. On my original one, I put a little bit of ink from the Cherry Cobbler. You can just see it's picking out there. Now I'm going to attach this here, and I'm going to have it hanging some over the center panel and some over the card. So we're going to use mini dimensionals, and I'm going to put 2 on the bottom. I'm just going to stack them on top of one another, and then I'm going to put 2 single ones here, and it'll be coming a little clearer in a sec. Now this panel up here, that is on dimensional, so that's already pumped up by 1 thickness. Because we're going to put the bottom of this card here, then we need to have 2 Stampin' Dimensionals packed on top of one another, and just one on the top part, so that is going to be level, and I'm going to put that in the middle so I don't lose the flower. When I did this one, it looks like my piece was a little bit higher on my cardstock. Okay, so there we are. I hope you've enjoyed this technique and seeing this card. I certainly appreciate you spending some time with me. If you have enjoyed, go ahead, give me a thumbs up. And if you don't already, go ahead and subscribe to my YouTube channel. I'd certainly appreciate that. Thank you for spending time with me today. Bye for now.